What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers, odd squad? Thank you for joining us. Our Monday opening lines NCAA football show starring our guys, John, Ryan, Connor, Mac, and Noli knows. Our experts have picked out games they want to attack. We will be looking at all four of the games, supposed to be five, but all four of the games that are going on Thursday and Friday night. We've also just found out an hour ago that the Minnesota game is canceled. Northwestern Minnesota is canceled due to positive COVID tests. But we have our experts picking out their favorite spots on the card. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We got Ashley Waite in the house, Jose Pompa, the real Jolly Roger, around the horn here. John Ryan, how are you doing on this Monday afternoon?
I'm doing awesome, Jimmy. I'm always awesome when I'm on this show with Noli Knows and Connor Mack and you. What could be better?
It is a fun way to start the week. C-Mac, how you doing?
Great, baby. Monday morning here. Let's get it done. Bang these games out. Let's go.
Yeah, let's roll. Noli knows. Great to see you. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing real well, Jimmy. Like John Ryan said, no better place to be than right here, breaking down these games, try to beat some line moves. You know, it's a great time to be a sports bettor, and I'm ready to get to it.
Let's do exactly that. Now, we're going to break down the four games on Thursday, Friday. I don't know if there's any best bets from our panel or what they like on those. I do know that they've chosen a few games each on the Saturday card to attack. So let's start doing exactly that, attacking. Let me pull up the odds.com odds page so I know where the market lies. We are going to start on the Thursday nighter. Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, 4-3, 3-2 in Conference USA at North Texas Mean Green. 3-4, 2-3 in Conference USA. Apogee Stadium in Denton, Texas, 47 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 12 miles per hour is the weather on Thursday evening. Louisiana Tech opens up as 4-point favorites. They're now 3-point favorites. This total opened up at 64.5, and that's where it stands right now. Louisiana Tech had all four of their November games canceled due to COVID issues plaguing their opposition. It wasn't them. Louisiana Tech went through their COVID issues in September. 38 players tested positive for COVID after Hurricane Laura. It's amazing to think that this team can be open up as 4-point favorites when we haven't seen them in a month. We last saw them snap a 2-game losing streak with a 37-34 double overtime win on Halloween, and we don't know much about them anymore. You know, it just feels like we haven't seen them in a long time. North Texas had their 2-game winning streak snapped in the 49-17 win at UTSA. Mean Green's dangerous offense sputtered as they used both Austin Ani and Jason Bean at quarterback. The two combined to go 14 of 33 for 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It was Bean who threw the 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Ani did a lot of nothing. Maybe he should go back to baseball. UTSA put up 410 yards rushing against North Texas. Despite an offense that puts up 536.9 yards and 34.3 points per game, this team can't win. They're allowing 535.3 yards per game, allowing 41 points per game. Let's go around the horn here. We'll start with John Ryan. Anything for you in La Tech, Texas, North Texas?
Well, it's an interesting game. There's a lot of things that I talk about with pivot points, the 28-point thing. In this particular game, there's a system I want to outline for everybody. It's a system that has gone 200 wins, 105 losses, 5 pushes, last 10 seasons. So this provides people who like action with a ton of action. That comes out to 65% winners, by the way. So you're going to play against home underdogs, which would be North Texas in this case, that this doesn't have a very good defense at all. They're allowing 35 or more points per game on the season, and they're coming off a game where 60 or more total points were scored. This is a system that actually has hit in the MAC on several occasions this year and has won every single time. So I'm hoping here it'll help win again. So this would support Louisiana Tech, and that would be my lean.
Louisiana Tech, whom we haven't seen in a month, is a lean for John Ryan. Noli knows. What do you think of this spot? Louisiana Tech, North Texas.
I mean, I think it's a tough spot. Specifically, when you look at North Texas, a defense that's been pretty bad. You talked about a little bit, 535 total yards per game. But when you look at the totals wise, they're staying under the number of the last 2 games. Because you know me, I'm always looking at the total. I'm always trying to find an edge to the under. And Louisiana Tech really, when you look at their points per game, a little inflated by a couple of games that they played, really not putting up too many points themselves. But when I look at the porous defenses, what keeps me off. Louisiana Tech likes to throw the ball quite a bit. Not a lot of question marks with Louisiana Tech. For me, I would lean towards Louisiana Tech. I think they're the better team. And albeit even with this high total, I mean, with the total being what it is, I lean towards the under. North Texas has been an under team under this coach. Albeit one of their seasons, they pretty much swept the board on unders, I believe 2 years ago. And that kind of weighs it towards that. But really not a game that I want to be involved with, though.
Tricky when you haven't seen a football team for a month. C-Mac, anything for you here? La Tech, North Texas.
I just have to lean with La Tech here like the guys did. I think they're the better football team. They got a good record against beating up teams with losing records. And the Mean Green aren't just good. They're not good at home. They're 4-10 in their last against the spread. They're not a good football team. It's a short number. That's why I like Louisiana Tech here. I think they can beat them pretty handily. But I just don't love it. I don't. Like you said, Jimmy, it's been a long layoff for the Bulldogs, and it's just not a game I don't want to get involved in.
It is tricky when you haven't seen a team in a month. Capping in the COVID era has changed a lot of things. And in the NFL, it's just, I don't know how you can make moves the way we've been doing early in the week. And the same goes with NCAA football. The thing is that in college, at least, they're easy just to pull the plug on the games. In the NFL, I mean, I had to buy back my Colts action. Thank God I did. I had to bet on the Titans on Thursday after hearing about DeForest Buckner and Autry and not having their defensive front. Very tricky here. We haven't seen La Tech in a month. Haven't seen them since Halloween, and they are back at North Texas. So leans towards Louisiana Tech and no moves. The real Jolly Roger says Duke Georgia Tech came out firing after their long breaks. I mean, it wasn't a month, but you're right. And when we were on the over in that, and speaking of Saturday was some wild stuff. John Ryan cashing huge money line spots. Very impressive week, John. And we'll get into that when we get into Saturday's action. But East Carolina was a thing of beauty. Yeah. East Carolina was a thing of beauty, John. All right, let's move into the 9:30 p.m. Eastern spot right now. Air Force Falcons at Utah State Aggies. Air Force opening up at minus 10.5. That's where they stand now. This total is sitting at 48. It opened at 48.5. Is it still there? It's gone up to 51.5. It is shooting up as we speak. Air Force 2-2, 1-2 in the Mountain West. The Aggies 1-4, 1-4 in the Mountain West. Maverick Stadium, Logan, Utah, 27 Fahrenheit on Thursday night. Clear, 4 miles per hour. Both teams coming off victories over New Mexico. Air Force coming off a 28-0 win at home over the Lobos. They had lost back-to-back games to San Jose State and Boise State. Utah State got their first win of the season over New Mexico 6 days after Air Force beat them. They won 41-27 at home over the Lobos. With quarterback Jason Shelley kicked off the team with their head coach fired. Backup quarterback Andrew Peasley came in and was excellent. Sophomore went 14-21, 239 yards, 3 TDs. He also rushed for 11 times for 118 yards, 1 touchdown. And I was fading them. I was very fortunate to get cash the first half because Utah was carrying the play, and there was a fumble in the end zone that resulted in a touchback that allowed that first half to cash on the Lobos. It's my fault for betting on New Mexico. But in this spot, I wonder if they come back down to earth against the Air Force. Let's let Noli Nose get this started for us. Air Force, Utah State.
Yeah, I think you said it right there, Jimmy. You got to remember their opponent and who they face. That's a New Mexico team that really gives up a lot of yards through the air. And really, that's not what they're going to be facing here with the Air Force. Air Force has done pretty well against defensively this year, only giving up 18.2 points per game. They did get lit up by Boise State, but a much better Boise State and a much better offensive team than what you've seen out of Utah, only averaging 17.2 points per game. And the big thing what I see out of Air Force is their ability to stop the run, only giving up 105 yards per rush. rushing yards per game, and that's going to be a big thing for Utah State. If they can't get the run going, it's going to be a long day for the quarterback. And Air Force on the other side, I expect them to control the clock, control the running game. You look at what Utah State's given up, 200 yards rushing. They're going to have a tough time against this triple option of the Air Force, and the slow pace of which Air Force plays at. They're 100th in pace, 67.5 plays per game. I disagree with the movement. I'll be taking a shot at the under now that it's moving in that 50 range.
Moving against this market move is very, very exciting. Noli knows. Let's see what CMAC has to say. Noli leaning on the under here in Logan, Utah.
Yeah, I'd lean with the under as well a little bit. The whole thing, I think, it took a while, was New Mexico was bad. I thought the game was going just how I thought it was, and then I leave Thanksgiving, come home about 20 minutes later, and there's 3 touchdowns after halftime. So that was crazy. But with Shelley leaving and that Andrew Peasley kid, he came in, he threw the ball well. So I think that might have been the difference. We'll see, can he do it again? But I think that was the change for them. Maybe it gives them a little spark. Of course, they didn't do it. It was just like a blow-up of a third quarter. One of those everything that rolled happened in that one quarter. Just kind of boom, boom, boom. Shit rolled downhill. It's a lot of points at 10. I just lean a little bit on the under. I don't want to lay 10.5 with Air Force here, and just lean a little bit on the under.
No, I don't want to either. But I don't know if I actually believed what I was seeing. You know, I do think that they feel good about themselves for the first time all season. And I don't know if that will lead them to falling back to earth or continuing that forward momentum. Let's see what John Ryan has to say. Air Force, Utah State.
I like Air Force in this matchup. I think Connor and Noli both nailed it on the head there with the inability of Utah State to stop the triple option. I actually have the machine learning saying that Air Force will have over 400 rushing yards.
Wow.
So that's a ton, but you compare that to Buffalo this past week, that's the first half. But seriously, the Utah State's head coach Calhoun has not done well in these matchups, the way these two teams are coming in. So, for example, Calhoun's 1-9 in road games where the total is between 49 and 54. I'm sorry, that's actually Calhoun, who's the coach of Air Force. So my bad there. Let me get back on track here. But that is a trend that works, against Air Force, obviously, if you like Utah State. The system that I just mentioned actually is on this game as well, which is pretty coincidental that back-to-back games in the rotation would be appearing on the same night on a Thursday, but it applies. You're playing against home underdogs, horrible scoring defense, allowing 35 or more points per game, and after a game playing 60 or more, scoring 60 or more points in that game. 64% winners. And let me get back to the team trend I wanted to mention. All right, here we go. Air Force, 33-12-1 in road games after allowing 14 or fewer points in their last game. That was what Noli was mentioning about that great run defense they have. They're 19-6-2 in road games after allowing 9 points or less in their last game. So it all adds up to I think it's a solid bet. They're 44-24-3 after a win by 21 or more points. I could go on, but I won't.
Do you think you're going to be making anything official in this Air Force Utah State game, John?
Of the game so far, this one definitely has the potential to be official. If you're going to break down the best bets, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday best bets, this has potential to be the best bet when we do that.
All right. We are going to be looking for the Thursday, Friday best bets from you guys. And we only have 4 games to pick from. Those are the 2 Thursday games. Let's move on to Friday's action. 7 p.m. Louisiana Raging Cajuns, 8-1 on the season, 6-1 in the Sun Belt at Appalachian State. Mountaineers, 7-2, 5-1 in the Sun Belt. Kid Brewer Stadium, Boone, North Carolina, 39 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy. Let's see what we are dealing with from an odds perspective. App State opening as 3-point favorites, and that's moved to 2.5. This total opened up at 53. The Raging Cajuns have won 5 straight. They're coming off a 70-20 beatdown of Louisiana Monroe. Their strong defense will get tested by App State. On the year, Louisiana allowing just 21 points a game, 354.2 yards per game. It's seniors night for the Mountaineers. App State took out the anger of a 34-23 loss at Coastal Carolina 2 weeks ago with a 47-10 win at home over Troy. And I don't know why when I was going over the games, I was like, how am I not on this game? You knew they were going to be so angry all week and just take it out on the Trojans. App State averages 32.8 points per game, only allows 18. Their stingy defense allows just 319.2 yards per game. Let's get CMAC to open this one up. Louisiana Raging Cajuns, Appalachian State, Sunbelt, Funbelt. Take it away.
This is a good one. I think the line and the side and the total are spot on here. I mean, this is what I would have made it 3 and right around 52, 53. I mean, I give a slight lean. I've been on the Raging Cajuns all year. I love Appalachian State. I don't really see anything here. I mean, if you're Appalachian State, you're laying a field goal. I mean, that's it. You like them? If not, take Lafayette. And I like the number of 53. It might just creep over. Both teams, I think, can score, but both teams have good defenses, so it's a real tough one. Tough one here, so it could stay under a bit. So I just don't have nothing. I think it'll be a good football game. I just don't think it's a great betting game right here for myself. So,
Raging Cajuns, Mountaineers. John Ryan, do you have anything for this?
I'm coming in the same mode as Connor. I think it's a great game to watch, but I don't see really any solid betting opportunities right now to get early line action. The lines do indicate like a 28-25 Appalachian State win. So you have to ask yourself again, like if you're one that likes Appalachian State and you think they can score more than 28, just know that the Raging Cajuns are 46-96 against the spread the last 10 years in games where they have allowed 28 or more points. So with that said, I'm going to be watching this game. I don't even have a lean on this. Appalachian State's the better team, though.
I lean that way too, John. And if App State is the better team, it's seniors night, and they're at home, and they're less than 3-point favorites, why aren't you on them?
Because I think the line should actually be 7 or 8. The power ratings I have is 6.5. So when I get situations like you just described, it's kind of a contrarian process in my brain where, okay, well, why is this game -3 and not -7? A lot of, early on in my, when I was learning this whole industry, sure, you look at that and you think, oh my God, I'm getting 3 points of value. But I learned over time, it becomes more contrarian. Like it's not value. It's kind of like, okay, what's going on here? It's kind of puzzling. So
you're thinking, what does the line, who's making, the lines, Vegas, what do they know that we don't a little bit when you think it should be different? And because right now at DraftKings and Circa, it's 2.5. So if you can get to a book there or you're on DraftKings and you like Appalachian State, now would be the time to take it. I think it goes to 3, maybe a little over 3, 3.5.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it goes lower than 2.5. And if anything, you could be 3.5, 4 game time. Mm-hmm. But, it's kind of like I think, what do the betting gods know? Because you know how I think it's betting. Human betting behavior is what establishes the line. And we've been through that story enough. I don't have to repeat it, but it just makes me, it's a head scratcher. Like,
Well, let's hear.
What's Noli know?
Yeah, let's hear what Noli knows has to say about.
Tell me something, Noli.
Raging Cajuns, Mountaineers.
All right. Well, yeah. To me, when I look at the line, I think that's kind of telling the story of what people have seen out of Louisiana Lafayette. Let's remember they did beat Iowa State game 1, 31-14 game, and their only loss came to Coastal Carolina. They lost on a game-winning drive, a field goal by Coastal Carolina, and which was a great game. And this matchup here, I agree, it is going to be a great matchup. It is a solid game. This is typically for the Sun Belt title, but this year, App State didn't make it. It's going to be Louisiana Lafayette going to try to get revenge against Coastal Carolina. So how much do they want this game is a question mark. I know that they're going to want a battle, but one thing that you popped up a comment from Dennis Garcia is that Appalachian State has owned this matchup. You talk about in the last 2 years, they beat them 4 times in 2 years, twice in 2 seasons. You look, and a big reason for it last year was their ability to stop Lewis. Lewis is a mobile quarterback for Louisiana Lafayette. I don't like the way he can throw the ball. And you look what he's done, 4 rushes, minus 16 yards. Mind you, that was 3 sacks. And then the other game, 7 rushes for 6 yards, only took 1 sack. You know, it was a 38-45 game the last time out. 14 points scored in the last 4 minutes for Louisiana Lafayette, so a much bigger blowout than you might think. And here you got Zach Thomas Zach Thomas playing his last game as a starter here in Appalachian State in senior night, giving me less than a field goal. I think Appalachian State is the better team, and I just think the line is more so overreaction from how well Louisiana Lafayette is playing and the fact of their resume. I think Appalachian State is the better team. They'll be able to run the ball. They've got a great defense. I think they'll put a lot of pressure on Lewis, which he won't be able to be mobile. So I'm on Appalachian State here.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It feels like the fact that we know it's the Raging Cajuns versus Coastal Carolina in the title game, that this is a huge game for App State to send some kind of a message before the season ends. Interesting. Underdog Ruiz in the house. Man, great to see you being too long. App State Mountaineers for Noli knows, and he's getting under 2.5. Feels like the spot here. Noli, with 2 great defenses going at each other, what's keeping you off of the under? And I know a lot of guys in the chat are on the over, but what's keeping you off this under 53?
Well, I mean, I gotta say it is a lean. You know, you're supposed to get some snow showers earlier in the day in Boone. I did look that up. I was hoping maybe that weather gets pushed back a little bit, but there are great defenses, and playing in Boone typically more conducive towards the under. I mean, it would be a lean, but I think Louisiana Lafayette could be a little bit leaky, and I think Thomas goes off in this game. He's looked really good, and he looked really good last game, and I think he's going to do his thing. He's always lit up Louisiana Lafayette.
Well, let's move on to the final game on the Thursday-Friday card. That's at 9:30 p.m. Boise State Broncos 4-1, 4-0 in the Mountain West at UNLV. Running Rebels 0-5, 0-5 in the Mountain West. Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, Nevada. Boise State opening up as 27-point favorites. That sticks. This total opened up at 60.5. There are 61s on the board. UNLV have lost all 5 games this year. They've been dealing with COVID. We don't know who's going to be in the lineup from week to week, and they're keeping all that very close to the chest. The latest loss was an ugly 45-14 loss at home to Wyoming. They're averaging just 16.6 points per game while allowing 38. Boise State went over to Hawaii, won 40-32. Boise was up 19-3 at the half, 40-17 after 3 before Hawaii scored 2 late touchdowns to cover. It was very irritating. I mean, I had them first half a full game, but still there was some questionable refereeing, and to not get that cover was disappointing. But then we just saw Hawaii look quite good against Nevada, so maybe that says more about Boise State than I first thought. Boise State Broncos, UNLV Rebels. We'll go back to John Ryan to get this popping off. What do you think here in the Mountain West?
I think simply it's Boise State, and I'll actually be very quick, but the metrics are pretty powerful. This is UNLV's last home game of the season, so I run charts out of the database, how do teams do last home game, last road game, last pair of home games, etc. So UNLV, last 38 times they've been in the last home game situation are 12-26 against the number. We move on to the machine learning metrics here quickly with Boise State. They're projected to obviously score 28 or more points and gain 6.5 or more yards per total play. When they score more than 28, the last 3 years, they're 16-4. When they gain 6.5 or more total yards per play, they're 10-1. So, I don't like saying the words "lay the wood," Jimmy, as you know, but I think 27 is the lumber yard, but it's probably warranted.
Yeah, I can understand why. I mean, there's been absolutely nothing to be hopeful for in the UNLV Rebels season. I know we've been going in order, and so we will stick to that order and move to Noli Knows next. Noli, UNLV Rebels at home versus Boise State. Anything for you here?
It's a tricky game. That UNLV game against Wyoming, it seemed in the second half that UNLV kind of just gave up. They went for it on the fourth down, didn't get it, and from there just kind of collapsed. Turnovers, not stopping anything. So how interested are they in this game is a big question mark. But when you look at Boise State, a guy that likes unders, they haven't gone under once. They're 5-0 to the over, and to me in this game, they might put up 60 by themselves. They're averaging 40 points per game. They were able to put up 52 against Colorado State. Mind you, some special teams helped them out in that game. But ever since getting their quarterback back, they've been putting up points, and they put up points quickly. So I think a look towards the over, a lean that way. But I don't want to be getting involved with a team like UNLV in that game.
60.5 or 61. The hometown Rebels for CMAC. Any interest in fading them? Because I know you don't bet on them.
Yeah, you don't bet with them. It's Boise State. It's under, and right now it's under 28. So I'd look to take it now. I think this goes over 28, here a little later on in the week for sure. You just got to lay it here. There's no other, you just can't take UNLV. The new coach was supposed to bring, he's an offensive minded guy, same song, same dance, new coach, can't do anything, can't recruit, can't bring anybody here. And UNLV's either 0-10 or maybe 2-8 every year. It's just same thing. So until they get like a full culture change there, they're just done. And like Noli said, they quit in the second half of that, Wyoming game. They just gave up. So it's under, it's Boise or pass. You lay it, the 27, or just pass it.
What do you think of Noli interested in the over?
Yeah. Can UNLV score lately? I mean, again, they put up 2 touchdowns, junk touchdowns. Yeah. Boise probably hangs 50, at least 45.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's close. I don't want to play it though.
Wow, the school that created the great Anthony Bennett is showing us nothing.
Hey.
Showing
he
us
sucks. I know. Great Anthony Bennett.
First overall pick out of the Great White North. We were very proud of him until we saw those man tits keep growing. Boise State, UNLV, first half, full game, impossible overs and team total overs. Okay, there we go. Those are the 4 Thursday and Friday games. Let's get to Thursday, Friday best bets now, and I will be writing them down as I always do. Thursday, Friday best bets. Let's go, John Ryan.
Wow, it's a toss-up here between Boise State and Air Force, but we'll go with Air Force.
Air Force for John Ryan minus 10.5. I think that I will join you on that at this point. I feel like that was not a realistic example of Utah State. I'm going to study it more and hear what they're saying with comments and stuff out of the locker room, but it just doesn't feel like it. I would be shocked if we saw Andrew Peasley do that again. Let's go to Noli Knows, Thursday, Friday best bets.
Yeah, sticking to that same game, it could be Air Force, Utah State under 51.5, or whatever's available now.
Utah State under. And Connor Mack, best bets on Friday, Saturday.
I'm going to let you know later. It's either Boise State or La Tech. I'll know here in just a couple hours.
Boise State.
I might lay Boise first half. I just want to dig into both those a little bit deeper. I'll have it here.
Okay, there we go. Let's move on to Saturday action. Our experts have picked out the games that they want to attack. Let's roll. We're going to start with a 12 p.m. spot that John Ryan has picked out. Arkansas at Missouri. Arkansas 3-5, 3-5 in the SEC. Missouri 4-3. All games played in the SEC. Memorial Stadium, Columbia, Missouri. 44 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy. 9 miles per hour. Arkansas coming off their second straight loss, 27-24 at home to LSU. Missouri coming off their fourth win in 5 games, a 41-0 home beatdown of Vanderbilt. And they played so strong that we didn't get a chance to see the female kicker put up some points, and that would have been nice. I was cheering for it. She was. I liked her attitude, liked everything she said. Also, actually I won't. I'll cut that. I'll edit that. Okay, let's move here to Arkansas, Missouri. Arkansas, Missouri. We are dealing with Missouri as 3-point favorites. And can I get a total here? Yes, 51.5. 51.5 here. We're going to start with John Ryan and go around the horn. Actually, we'll let the expert who's picked the game out as one of their bets of the week, we'll let them start. So let's start with John Ryan, Arkansas, Missouri.
Okay, the play is the under. And I didn't pick it because of Noli, but I bet he's going to like it too, probably, I hope. That'll make me feel more confident. But this betting system here has hit 65% winners again over the last 5 seasons, 105 and 55 for the actual record. So you get a lot of action with this one. You're going to play under with any team using a total that is an excellent passing team, averaging 8.25 or more passing yards per attempt. And after 7 or more games have been played and now facing a good passing team in their own right, that's averaging 7.5 to 8.25 passing yards per attempt. So it's one of those contrarian ones that everybody knows I like this time of year. You have 2 pretty darn good passing teams in the SEC, and the total is ripe for the picking to take the under.
The under is a very interesting look here in Arkansas, Missouri. Let's go to the under. It's all over the board right now. There's 50.5, there's 51.5, there's a 52. Let's see what the man who's making unders great again has to say about this spot in the SEC, Arkansas, Missouri.
I mean, yeah, like you said, it's a little interesting, something that you might not be thinking, but these are 2 teams that year after year are battling out for the bottom of the barrel. You know, they fight each other to try to be at the bottom. And the one thing that's what's created, 7 of the last games between these 2 have stayed under the total, and by a large margin. You know, the way that these 2 teams typically match up, they battle hard, and they go under. So that's definitely the look for me. I definitely agree. I would have liked to get maybe like 53 or 54. I think they shorted us a little bit here. They adjusted, but I still think it stays under the total.
We have it, this under that John Ryan likes, verified by Noli Notes. Let's see what CMAC has to say, Arkansas, Missouri.
I like it as well. This was one of my – I usually do when I break down the card, like my top 3 games, I think total-wise, and this was one of in my top 3 for an under. Both teams, I think we could keep this close. The only thing, Noli nailed it. I would have liked to seen like a 54.5. I think it's a little low right here, 51.5. But both these teams, I think, will keep it close. Defense, I like Arkansas all year. Missouri's been playing well as of late. I think the under is the play. I like it.
All 3 of our cappers liking the under in Arkansas, Missouri. It'll be very interesting to see where this total is on our Saturday morning show at 10 a.m. Eastern. That's John Ryan's look, Arkansas, Missouri. Let's move on to a Connor Mack spot. Penn State, 1-5, 1-5 in the Big Ten. Rutgers, all their games in conference, 2-4 in the Big Ten. We are in Piscataway, New Jersey, 46 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour is the wind. Penn State coming off their first win of the year, 27-17 at Michigan. They look good doing it. Rutgers put an end to their 4-game losing streak with a 37-30 win at Purdue. John Ryan got us on Rutgers. That was another big dog that cashed outright if you took it on the money line. Penn State, we are dealing with Penn State as 10.5-point favorites. This total is at 57.5. Let's go to Connor Mack. C-Mac, is this too many points for Penn State on the road here after their big win?
Just wild. I mean, I got to take the 10.5 here with Rutgers. There's no way Penn State, just from getting a win, they didn't look impressive. I watched that whole game with Michigan. Boring. Clifford looked the same. He made a few plays. Michigan's just as bad. They gave up a ton of points, and I've been just impressed with what Schiano's done. I mean, not only they've won a few, they've covered week in and week out. I've backed them a bunch, and I'm going to back them here. And you're giving me 10.5 home, all that money on Penn State, and it might go up. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I think it's definitely staying at 10.5. I don't know if it goes up or down, but I think the play for sure here would take the home team and Rutgers getting 10.5.
Rutgers 10.5-point home dogs, and Indian Cowboy in the house. What a treat to see Indian Cowboy. Maxwell Smart also joining us. Ramon Scott. Great to see these great cappers, and Indian Cowboy. What a treat, man. Much respect. Let's keep rolling along. We have Rutgers being backed by our CMAC. Let's hear what John Ryan has to say. Penn State finally is in the win column. Can they make it 2 in a row? Can they cover double digits?
I was on Penn State, reluctantly, because 0-5 is not a team that you necessarily want to bet. But I've never seen the polls so wrong. They had Penn State ranked number 8 in the nation. They're obviously not going to be in the top 25 this year at all. But are they really this piss poor? We know that Michigan is, and if Maryland beats Michigan on Saturday, I think that just about seals the deal for Mr. Harbaugh. But I think I'm on the other side. I hate to go against Connor. I'm probably more times wrong going against him than I am right. But I think Penn State, if you go back to the beginning, they're a pretty good team on paper, and now they actually have confidence for the first time in this COVID-related season. And they're playing Rutgers, who has been their Eastern doormat, so to speak. I get the whole thing with Rutgers, and I talked about it a lot. It's great that Schiano's back. He's got the transfers, quarterback Vidral from Nebraska. And that's a good feel story finally for that program, and I hope they get better and better. But the defense of Rutgers is why I'm on Penn State. And they've given up 35 or more points in every single game, I think, this year. Somebody can correct me if they want. But the defense has been really shredded. And, Penn State finally got stuff done in the red zone. They've outstatted every single opponent except Ohio State. But they failed in the red zones. And they had, dumb penalties, dumb mistakes, just untypical of a team that's in the top 10. So my theory is if they stop making the stupid mistakes and play like they did at Michigan, at Rutgers, then they should be able to walk away with it pretty comfortably.
We'll see. Even last week, though, they didn't do much in the red zone. A touchdown or two were outside. I think he ran it for 28 yards.
It was outside the red zone.
Clifford got it in. They haven't been able to score. If they do, I just want the home. During this year, I start to look at teams that are playing better. And at home, even though home's not as big as this year because of COVID, every time they just keep being in games. And you're right, though, their D is not very good. It is leaky for sure. But I think they can score and hang tough in this one. So definitely on Rutgers.
The only thing I'll debate with you, Connor, is that Penn State rushed for 254 yards against a defense that's supposed to be pretty good. 50 rushes.
Who's pretty good?
Rutgers, again, unfortunately, they gave up 341 to Illinois. They gave up 50 to Michigan State in week 1, but now we know Michigan State is Michigan State. But since then, it seems like that defensive front, 5-7, whatever the case may be, is getting. This looks like they're getting tired. But we'll see. This will be a good one for us to bet a beer on.
Yes, or several. I like it. I like hearing you guys break this down on either side of the fence right now. Indian Cowboy backing up your analysis, saying completely agree with the fact that they've outstatted every team but failed in the red zone. Let's hear what Noli Knows has to say. Noli Knows, can you break this deadlock? Penn State, Rutgers.
This is a tough one. Typically not a game that I like being involved with. I talked about it when that New Mexico Utah State game. How can you be mad for betting? You only person you could be mad at for betting New Mexico is yourself, because you knew they were bad going in. So it's the same thing in this situation here for me. Penn State, yeah, they're gaining yards, but they're kicking themselves. They're shooting themselves in the foot. They keep doing it over and over. And the one thing that I'm kind of upset about is that this is a matchup that I typically look to go under. Last 7 matchups have all stayed under the total, and just this year, it's tougher for me. Penn State's really pushing a pace, 85 plays per game, and the inability for Rutgers to really to stop anybody. John Ryan alluded to that. 430 total yards per game given up. That's what makes it difficult for me to get on the under. For me here, I'll just sit back and watch and make fun of whoever loses.
I like that. I wish over there.
The courage.
We can only dream of hanging out together. I like it. Very, very interesting breakdown. That was a lot of fun. Big Ten action. Penn State, Rutgers. We move on to 2 p.m. Eastern action. This is a Noli bet here. Troy at South Alabama. South Alabama won outright as 7.5-point dogs. We were on them this past weekend. Troy 4-5, 2-3 in the Sun Belt. South Alabama 4-6, 3-4 in the Sun Belt. South Alabama has been so bad for so long that it's been. I cheer for them. I actually care and want them to win for some reason. Hancock Whitney Stadium, Mobile, Alabama, 55 Fahrenheit, sunny, 8 miles per hour. It's another week. We keep week after week after week. We're getting great weather on Saturdays and Sundays. Troy's coming off their 3rd straight loss, 47-10 at App State. They were down 28-0 after the first play of the second quarter. They were outgained 554 to 231. And we have seniors night for the South Alabama Jaguars. They're coming off snapping their 4-game losing streak with a big 38-31 win at Arkansas State. Desmond Trotter was 16-22 for 242 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it was Tanner McGee who came in to throw that 51-yard strike to Jalen Tolbert. McGee ended up 6 of 8, 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. This game pops off at 2 p.m. here, and Troy has taken a ton of cash. Wow. Opened up at Bet365 as 1.5-point favorites. Again, we talked about the licensed American legal books, and we don't talk about the offshores, but opens up at 1.5. Now 5-point favorites. Troy is now a 3.5-point move already. And Noli knows, I know you look at totals so closely. We're sitting at 53.5 or 53. Noli, take it away.
Yeah, Jimmy said it right there. Totals. And we look at these two guys right here. They've been great for me. I've been riding. I've been talking about them for the entire season. I've been on almost every single game. You look at Troy, 6-2-1 to the under. South Alabama, 7-2-1 to the under. And both of them covering about almost 7 points a game. You look at what Troy really recently haven't been able to put up very many points. Only put up 17 against a poor Middle Tennessee team. Only put up 13 against Georgia Southern, and we're pretty much shut down against Appalachian State. Here they face a South Alabama team that is on the up and up. They were in some battles. They lost some tough games, and their defense has looked significantly better. And the pace of play at which they play at is what I like. They're I believe they run about 70 plays per game. About middle of the pack, but I think that's what we see here, and especially if the last game goes over the total. I mean, they put up 38 against Arkansas State. That's one of the worst defenses in football, let alone the Sun Belt. So I think that's not really indicative of what South Alabama is, and Troy hasn't really given up too much. I mean, they gave up a lot to Appalachian State, but I think this game, when you look at the matchup, I think you got to look at under the total. 5 of the last 7 have stayed under the total. 2 out of the last 3 in South Alabama have stayed under the total. And the average total for South Alabama has been right around 55.3. Here you're getting 54, 53.5, right around the same total. They're not really adjusting. And I think because of what happened in the last game, I'm on the under here.
The under for Noli knows. Let's move up to CMAC. We got a little Sun Belt, Fun Belt action. Troy, South Alabama, you making a move?
No, but not right now. But I nailed it. South Alabama is one of the probably 4 or 5 teams I take a look at each game on an under, kind of like San Diego State. There's multiple teams I look down at. And Troy, who scored a lot of points, they've been defunct. They've had multiple quarterbacks in the last few weeks, and they haven't been able to score, like Noli said. They just can't put up points. And I don't see – the only thing is this could be – kind of like a bum fight and might go over the total, but I don't think so. I think this one stays under the total as well.
And under that Noli likes, backed by CMAC. John Ryan, anything for you here, Troy, South Alabama?
My appetite's getting pretty big for South Alabama after this line move. I want to, obviously find out more of the reasons why. But as we know, Troy got smoked last week by Appalachian State. I think it was 47-10. Yeah. And these are two teams that have similar defenses in scoring defense. They're both averaging between 21 and 28 per game. So it sets up a really powerful combination here that has gone 32-5-1 for 84% winners over the last 5 seasons. So you're going to bet against any team. In this case, it's obviously Troy. In a game with two teams that are scoring defenses between 21 and 28, and with Troy coming off a loss of 17 or more points, and that's it. And that hits almost 85% the last 5 years. So once we get to know more of the reasons why here, I think South Alabama might be a really good contrarian play to make. It's 14-1, by the way, the last 3 seasons in that system. 14-1.
I like it. I like that. We do need to get more info. I agree with everything that you said there with your analysis. Alex Hills, we are so happy to hear that, my man. We work together to defeat the Juice, and that's why we got John Ryan, CMAC, and Noli Knows here sharing their wealth. I'm just the host trying to get it all together for us, but we work together.
So humble.
Very glad to hear that. Okay, let's keep rolling here. We have the under for Noli Knows in Troy, South Alabama. Let's move on to Liberty at number 20, Coastal Carolina. This is going to be a lot of fun. And on the show, I said about Liberty, I said they're going to – now it's easy to say they're going to smash Massachusetts, but I thought they were going to cover the 37. The line went down to 35, minus 35. I was like, this is such an angry Liberty team. This is a different type of situation than normal when we see a team that believes in themselves against a team playing out the string that's looked awful. And I didn't pull the trigger. I was like, am I going to sit here with a 37-point favorite or a 35-point favorite? And I should have. I very angrily watched Liberty.
I thought you did it, Jimmy.
No.
I would have wrote you. I did it. I was listening. I just go, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to lay it. I think. And they started out slow, but like I said, one touchdown all year? They scored?
I have no excuse. Yeah. And we had our guy, Piker, whom we love very much, Seamus Ignoramus, a.k.a. Seamus Ignoramus. He took the Massachusetts team total under with like huge confidence, and they don't score a point. I couldn't believe myself. There were parts on the card where I don't know. I couldn't believe that I didn't attack it, but whatever. It happened. Let's keep rolling. Brooks Stadium, Conway, South Carolina, 54 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 8 miles per hour. This is a game that Connor Mack has his eye on. Liberty came off their first loss of the season, 15-14, at NC State by delivering a 45-0 beatdown at home over lowly Massachusetts. Coastal Carolina train just keeps on rolling. Coming off a 49-14 win at Texas State, they're now outscoring their opposition by an average of 21.9 points per game. It is fun to watch this team roll. Let's see what we are dealing with from a market perspective. This is a 2 p.m. start here in Liberty, Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina now ranked 14th in the country, and Liberty back on the board at number 25. Coastal Carolina opening up at 6.5-point favorites. That moves to 7. This total sitting at 57. C-Mac, take it away, my man.
Yeah, I mean, 2 good teams. Last year, Coastal was the team I was on, and they've continued it this year. Liberty's been the team. We've all, I don't know, I'm sure everyone in here, I bet on both teams, made a lot of money with them. I love Coastal. I can't believe I'm going to say it because every week they've won and covered, but Liberty's 7-0 in its last 7. I got to take 7 points here with Liberty. Just think it's too many. I don't know. Maybe it goes up. People are loving Coastal Carolina, but I think Liberty might get some love too. I doubt it goes up more, but it's 7 right now. I think Liberty hangs in there. I think this is a good one, and I lean towards the under a little bit, the 57.5. I know Coastal wants to slow it down. I don't really like that. I just want the 7 points with Liberty here. That's all I'm on.
I'd be curious to hear what Noli has to say about this, but we'll continue in the order that we were in. Robert Murray says Liberty will lose by at least 14. The real Jolly Roger said I've been betting Coastal at 6.5. You know it will get to 9. Let's hear what our man John Ryan has to say about this. We have CMAC on Liberty we have CMAC on Liberty.
I like Liberty, yeah. I'm going to wait. If it goes higher, I'm going to, yeah.
Liberty at +7 and is waiting. And we also have him interested in this.
Yeah, I might look at the under.
Interested in the under. We have Fap Win in our chat. And Fap Win, out of Australia, he comes in the chat and he almost always just delivers a winner and pops out. It's uncanny. He's a huge asset to us. And he loves the over in this spot. Let's hear what John Ryan has to say. Liberty, Coastal Carolina.
Well, I just ran a quick database query, and I asked it, what happens when you have two teams that have won at least 5 in a row against the number facing each other? And the answer is that the home team is 3-7 against the spread. So a bit of a small sample size, but, I just had I was just curious to find out what it was. I don't really think there's too much statistical meaning in that, other than what the result is. Working for Coastal Carolina in this game, though, is a system going 68% winners since 2000. And this is one, I think I probably mentioned this one every single week on our show. You're going to play against road underdogs, 3.5, 9.5, off a win by 10 or more points to a conference rival, and coming off at least 3 consecutive wins to conference rivals. And that supports Coastal Carolina. But in all honesty, I'm very confused on this game. They're both really good feel-good stories in 2020 COVID. You want to see these Cinderella teams just keep winning and winning and winning, but one of them's going to have to go home, a loser.
Yeah.
So,
I'm really bucking it because I haven't gone against Coastal all year, but I've watched Liberty. I just think it's a little, right here. I think it's a little too many, and it might go up more.
John, do you think you're going to make anything official at this point?
No, right now I see it completely neutral. The power ratings come in at 4, which is pretty much where the market is. And even on the total, if I was forced to bet the total or bet this game at all, my lean would be to the under.
So we have 2 leans from CMAC and John Ryan towards the under. Let's take it to the man who wants to bet unders. Does this make your card, Noli?
This is a tough one. I think it's going to be a great game. I think as a fan, I'm excited. John Ryan alluded to it a little bit, the feel-good stories of these teams. I'm really rooting for Coastal Carolina to finish off that undefeated season. If, to be honest, I'm more of a fan of the Sun Belt. But Liberty has done some great things, and what you've seen defensively, they've been able to step it up. They were giving up a ton of yards and a ton of points earlier in the season. And for here, Coastal Carolina, we've been talking about their defense and how good they've been physically up front. But this is one of their biggest tests, if not their biggest test. When you talk about an offensive team in Liberty, probably the best offense they've seen all year. Appalachian State, but still Appalachian State hasn't been putting up points the way Liberty has. These are 2 teams that like to run the ball a lot. You look at Liberty 45 times a game. You look at Coastal Carolina 43 times a game, but still averaging over 5 yards a rush. So they succeed at the rush. So the total I think may be a little bit high, but it's tough because I expect this game to go back and forth. So who's to say? And in the second half of the game, I expect maybe to creep over. I think it'll be close. To me, I think Coastal Carolina ends up winning this game, but laying the 7, I wouldn't do that. I just want to watch this as a fan. I think this is going to be a good one, but no move for me. So
All right. So we have CMAC going to bet against his Chanticleers. Liberty +7 is available, but CMAC going to wait. And I agree with that idea. Interested in the under. So is John Ryan. No move for John Ryan. There we have it. That is a Connor Mack look for Saturday's action. Let's move on to 3:30 p.m. This is a John Ryan look here. Number 24 ranked Iowa, 4-2 in the Big Ten at Illinois, 2-3 in the Big Ten. Memorial Stadium, Champaign, Illinois, 43 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 12 miles per hour. This is usually the time of year where it gets real cold and windy. That is not the case. Both teams coming off wins over Nebraska. We are dealing with Iowa as 13-point favorites. That's moved to 12.5 at the leading indicator books. This total at 50 or 49. After opening the season with 2 straight losses, the Hawkeyes have now won 4 straight. Most recently, a closer than expected 26-20 win at home over Nebraska. Illinois' game with Ohio State was canceled last week due to positive COVID tests in the Buckeye program. After Illinois opened their season with 3 straight losses, they've now put together back-to-back wins. Most recently, 2 weeks ago, their best game of the year at Nebraska, 41-23 victory for Illinois. John Ryan, Iowa, Illinois, take it away.
Well, if you've been listening to us for any stretch of time, you know what my pick is going to be already. It's Iowa. In case you wanted to know, Illinois is 19-20 against the number. The last 39 times they've had a last home game, so we don't get anything there. But these 2 teams, in my opinion, are vastly different. Illinois is coming off a game where the offense really did get into gear. They scored, I think, 20-some in the first half. I'll try to find that real quick here. They scored more than 20. They scored more than 24. I know that in the first half of the last game. In the following game, after doing that, they're 11-28 against the number. So Illinois has traditionally been a team where if you get a game where they have outperformed their norms, they have a tremendous propensity to revert back down to the mean, and actually some more cases than not below the mean. So this is a situation where Iowa, as Jimmy alluded to, had a much closer game against Nebraska. As a result, they underperformed. Now you're getting an underperformed team that's better already playing an Illinois team that vastly overperformed, and the result is I think Iowa covers it by at least 10.
So do you think because of the poor performance by Iowa this past week and the great performance by Illinois 2 weeks ago that this is a line that we should wait on? We already see a 12.5 from a leading indicator book offshore. Do we think that could move to 12 and 11.5 and 11?
I think it'll actually go the other way around.
Okay.
So I would take 50% of your normal size bet and get it now, and then see what happens. Unless there's COVID news, I don't see this line getting below 10.5, and certainly not below 10. But again, that's the reason the 50%, because you can get your face ripped off pretty easily with this news that comes about that nobody can predict.
All right, we have John on Iowa here. Let's head over to CMAC. We're in Champaign, Illinois for this Big Ten battle. Iowa, Illinois, take it away.
Yeah, I think Iowa wins here. I just don't like it. I made the mistake last week. I think they go in there and win and cover. I think it's 34-17, something like that. But, I got caught doing it. I just laying too many here with Iowa. They're just not a team that I like to lay double digits on the road that often, and even at home. And it caught me last week. I think they win here. It's just not a game I want to bet on. They're the better football team. They should go in, take care of business. Illinois has been decent as a double-digit dog. They've been pretty well lately. They're 9-4 against the spread in their last 13. They're an up-and-down team in the Big Ten. I was talking about that with the Sun Belt teams like Troy and stuff. They're just, especially with COVID, they get tired. They play decent games and they play bad games. Illinois is that in the Big Ten. It's hard to gauge them. So it's Iowa here or nothing. I'm passing.
And it's a pass for CMAC. Noli knows we're talking Big Ten, Iowa, Illinois. We have John on Iowa. They're 13-point favorites right now. And we have a total for you. Let me just grab it again. We have a total for you at 50. There are 50.5s. There are 49s kind of all over the market right now. Noli knows, my man. Take it away. Iowa, Illinois.
When you talk about totals, you talk about Iowa, right away I'm always going to look towards the under. The one thing is, though, they've been able to move the ball, and their defense has been a little bit too good. They're only giving up 109 yards rushing per game, which is going to be a tough task for Illinois. I think they overperformed significantly against Nebraska last week, putting up 41 points when they only averaged 21 points per game. To me, I think Iowa will be able to shut down whatever Illinois has to do. They rely heavily on the run. They look to run 42 times, only pass 23 times a game. So if they're not able to run in the game, it's going to be a long game for them. When I look at the total, I think I'm leaning towards the under. Just being that I haven't succeeded too much here with Iowa and their unders is what's kind of keeping me off. Maybe I'm shying away a little bit, but that's the way I would lean. I think it's all Iowa in this game. Might end up having to ride with John Ryan. I'm not really a sides guy, but I lean Iowa. I think it's all Iowa in this game.
Would you be interested in? I might be too low, but would you be interested in an Illinois team total under?
I definitely would, Jim, but I got to see what that's at. I didn't even really calculate that. But I think that more so be the angle. So what you got?
Interested.
So
okay,
18,
it's
36,
interested
18.
in the team total under for Illinois, but it may come out quite low.
It might be like a 17.5, maybe. If we get that, I'll take that.
We'll take it at 17.5 if available. Okay, let's keep rolling here. We move on to another Big Ten spot that John Ryan has his eye on. Number 12 ranked Indiana. Are they still number 12 ranked Indiana? Let me just see what happened with the movement here. No, now they are 10th ranked Indiana at number 18. Wisconsin, Indiana 5-1 in the Big Ten. Wisconsin 2-1 in the Big Ten. Camp Randall Stadium, Madison, Wisconsin, 42 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour is the wind. Indiana coming off a 27-11 win at home over Maryland. I don't know how I was not. I mean, how many times I've said it this week? Wisconsin had their game at Minnesota canceled due to numerous positive COVID cases in the Gopher program, and now we found out that it's 47 positive cases on the Minnesota football team. They were last seen in a disappointing 17-7 loss at Northwestern 2 weeks ago. Wisconsin 14.5 or 14-point favorites with a total only at 47. Very interesting spot. John Ryan, Big Ten, you picked this game. Take it away.
Yeah, this is a very puzzling line, but I hate the word value because it sounds like you're buying something that is cheap that nobody wants. But Indiana is coming up pretty large on the models, and I'm going to watch this line for the rest of the week too.
Now, sorry to interrupt, John, and I should have mentioned the Penn situation, right? That's the reason why it's opened up at 14.
Yeah, but even still, I didn't think it was going to be that large a number. Indiana's still a pretty darn good team on both sides of the ball, and Wisconsin's only played 3 games, and that was the other point I was going to make. Obviously what you said is monumental, but with that aside, and that's I can take players in and out of the models very easily, so that it knows that it's using a backup, for example, and it looks at those stats. So. This is reflective of that. Even with the power ratings, just scrolling up here, it's 12 with him out. So now we're above that, and I think what my gut feeling is telling me here, and this is why I wanted to talk about it, is that betting behavior is going to get enamored with the Badgers. That there's no way they can lose this game. They need to win this. So they can get at least 6 games in and be 6-0 to have a chance to compete in the Big Ten championship game, which is the minimum requirement. Ohio State, by the way, is in danger of not getting to 6-2 if something crazy happens. And I don't know what the committee is going to do with that. Everywhere I've looked, there's no mention of any contingency plan. Like, do you let an undefeated 5-0 team into the Final Four? And we'll have to wait and see. But over the last 3 seasons, Indiana is 11-1 on playing against a team with a winning record, and that's spanning 3 seasons. So the line, what I'm trying to say here is the line is already reflecting that their quarterback is out. Yet there's been times, I'm sure, in the last 3 years where the quarterback was out, and some of these other trends I'm looking at, it's already priced into the market. So knowing that, and I thought it would come in around 9.5. I was kind of surprised that it was at this high. And I know there'd be a lot of debate to that. But whenever there's injuries and that kind of circumstance that'll impact a line, I immediately think, like I did on Wall Street, that the current price of that stock reflects everything we know plus 6 months into the future. So the betting here is going to be that way, and I think here we could see 15, maybe even higher if this thing gets rolling. So I'm going to wait on it, but I think the play here is to take Indiana. And I just wanted to mention one system here that is I actually don't have it here. I apologize, but
okay, don't worry. And if you grab it, you can pull it up here.
I'll keep looking while the rest of everybody's talking.
For sure. Ramon Scott telling us about Jack Tuttle. Says was our best quarterback here in San Diego County during his senior year at Mission Hills High. A pretty strong program here. Sophomore Jack Tuttle, 6'4", 215 pounds. He's throwing 5 passes this year. Gone 5 for 5, 31 yards, 6.2 average. Last year he threw 11 passes, went 6 for 11, 34 yards. I mean, this guy's been in the program for 2 years, been on the field each year. I think you're right. I think money will just come in on Wisconsin, and we might get a 16.5 here. So wait on Indiana. And then at that point, with this total, such a low total at 47, and you're dealing with a 14-point dog, even that team total over.
Yep.
Would be
that might be the play, Jimmy, because we talked about this before. You get the total coming down, and the favorites being bet, it makes it easier for the dog to cover, mathematically. So that's a good point.
Yeah, I hear that. We got a D block LBC in the house saying he's on the under, that Noli takes an over on any game. Noli almost took an over early in the show. There's still time to see if that bet is live. D block. Okay, we have Big Ten action here. Indiana, Wisconsin, Penix out, and Tuttle in. Jack Tuttle in. C-Mac, Indiana, Wisconsin, take it away.
I'm on the same thing here. I'm just going to wait till this goes up. I know Penix is out, but I think Indiana still is a pretty good football team all the way around. They got a defense that's all right and keep them in games. I think Wisconsin, as we saw, was a little overhyped. They've only played a few games. I just wait here, and I'm probably going to take Indiana. I'm just going to wait.
I like it. Let's hear what Noli has to say about this spot, Indiana, Wisconsin.
I think this is going to be a tough ask for Tuttle to come in and just replace their quarterback. He's the leading rusher in the Big Ten. Albeit, I mean, will I look to fade him? Not necessarily, because you talk about Indiana, they're very good defensively, only giving up 21 points per game. And that's a strong point also for Wisconsin. So right away, even at this low total, I'm looking at the under, because typically Indiana's throwing the ball 38 times a game, but are they going to allow him to throw it 38 times a game? Maybe we see a little bit more towards the run, but are they going to be successful going against a Wisconsin team only giving up 67 yards on the ground per game? So to me, this game is more indicative to an under, with Wisconsin eating up the clock with their ground and pound type of game and failing a little bit going against a tough defense. So I like the way the defenses are playing, and the fact that the quarterback is out, to me right away, I'm jumping on the under. I see it clicking up. It got up to 47. I like that number.
Interesting. Very interesting breakdown. Also, more story behind the scenes from Tuttle. He was the most celebrated recruit in Utah school history. Left the program as a redshirt freshman. Very interesting. Yeah. The most celebrated recruit in Utah history. Wow. Okay, there we go. And thank you for that heads up there, Ramon Scott and everybody. So, Noli, you're making this official here, Indiana, Wisconsin?
Yeah, if I get 47, which in my book I can get 47 right now, I'm taking that.
All right. There we go. Under 47, Indiana, Wisconsin. Let's move on to Florida at Tennessee. This is a Noli Nose look. Number 6 ranked Florida, 7-1 in the SEC at Tennessee, 2-5 in the SEC. Neyland Stadium, Knoxville, Tennessee, 46 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, and just 4 miles per hour of wind. Florida opening up at 16.5-point favorites, and that has moved to 17-point favorites. This total at 60.5 or 61. Florida coming off their 5th straight win, 34-10 at home over Kentucky. Kyle Trask was 21-27 for 256 yards and 3 touchdowns. All 3 touchdowns went to Kyle Pitts. We were on Florida minus 24, and we got the push. And fortunate after watching the first half of the game, and then shocking that we didn't cover it late in the fourth quarter, especially that drive ending on the goal line. After opening the season with 2 wins, Tennessee's lost 5 straight. Most recently, they lost 30-17 at Auburn. They're scoring just 20.1 points per game while putting up just 339.3 yards per game. Florida, Tennessee, Noli knows this is your look. Take it away.
Yeah, this SEC matchup was pretty much just Florida pretty much been dominating this matchup. And here I expect something similar. One thing that I did like out of Florida, what I've seen recently, is their ability to play a little bit of defense. That's the one thing that they've lacked on. Well, mainly because of their offense scoring so fast. You know, you talk about Trask, he's lighting it up. 34 touchdowns just to 3 interceptions. So the offense is clicking. But here against these lower level SEC teams that really slow down the pace and have an inability to score points, like you've seen out of Tennessee, you look at their last 3 games, scoring 17, 13, 17, and 7 points. Really haven't been able to get it done. And all 4 of those games staying under the total by a good margin. Here with Florida, I look at what they've done against these lesser foes in like Missouri, Vanderbilt, and recently Kentucky. They eventually, after with the lead, they look to run the ball a little bit, and seeing the total here in the 60s, I don't see an adjustment from what I've seen out of last week. This is a Tennessee team that to me is similar to that Kentucky team. And I see something similar to that 34-10 victory that I saw last week, especially on the road in Tennessee here. I like the under here.
The under in Florida, Tennessee. And you're right, their defense has been stepping up, and this over is at 60.5 or 61. Let's move over to John Ryan, the SEC battle here, Florida, Tennessee. What's your look?
This is a tough one to handicap, in my opinion. You have Florida averaging 43.4 points a game, good for 10th in the nation, facing a Tennessee offense that's averaging 20 points a game and 108th in the nation. A Florida defense that ranks 40th in scoring defense, allowing 26, and a Tennessee defense that, as Noe, I believe he said, is playing better, but still is giving up 31 a game, and that ranks 76th. So when you look at those numbers, you would immediately think that Florida should be favored by about 28 to 30 points because they're so much better on both sides of the ball. The one thing it's making me lay off of this, at least for today's show, is you have a Tennessee team that has lost many games in a row, many to the spread. So now the market is repricing their inability to win, basically. And they might have overshot here. And I realize I just said that, Florida should be favored by 28 to 30 based on those flash stats. But the fact that Tennessee is getting repriced by the market and we're not sure where the bottom is on them, if they are at the bottom of their performance levels, this is probably a steal taking Tennessee with the points. And that is guaranteed to be a contrarian bet. So we'll wait and see.
Very interesting. You'll have to catch John Ryan on our Saturday show at 10 a.m. Eastern to see if he pulls the trigger on the Volunteers. Interesting. Ramon Scott giving us a final score of 37-17. Wow. Great stuff. Okay, we move on, and Noli knows on the under in this spot, and our Dennis Garcia liking the other side on the over. Okay, there we have Florida, Tennessee, SEC battle. Dennis Garcia giving us a final score of 45-17 for the Gators. Okay, we move on to a Noli spot. Here, actually, we got C-Mac back. Why don't we just hear if C-Mac has any addition to this Florida-Tennessee spot in the SEC. C-Mac, my man, we have the under with Noli knows, and we have John Ryan with some interest in possibly a contrarian look on Tennessee. Do you have any feel on this spot here in the SEC?
I lean with the under as well. I've looked at that already, and I'd still go with Florida. It'd be nice to get under 17, then I'd really maybe look at it. Tennessee just can't score, and I don't know. I can't take them. And I like the double-digit dog at home, and that's why it's a tough spot for me right now. So, I mean, I'd lean with the under would be my best play here with this game.
And did you believe that this Florida Gators team has built a defense?
No way.
So under is predicated on Tennessee not being able to score.
Yeah, I mean, I think Florida's defense is okay. I think they can hold down a Tennessee for sure. Maybe not a better team. I think they're an average defense in the SEC, which is good enough because they can score like no other. And they will here a bit, but I'd lean the under. I think they can hold Tennessee down. If Auburn can hold them, I watched that game. That was horrible. I mean, I've watched a bunch of Tennessee games. I'm not big on them this year. Can't score.
What about a Tennessee team total under?
Yeah, that'd be a look.
Because
I have to wait till it comes out.
The czar saying Tennessee throws pick sixes, can't take the under.
Yeah, that's true too. So
okay. Very interesting.
It's kind of a tough spot. Yeah.
Noli, you are on the under. When I say Tennessee team total under, does that pique your interest or?
Yeah, that's definitely a look. I still don't expect Tennessee to do much. I mean, albeit I'm not saying Florida is some shutdown defense, but they have played better. I mean, especially against this lesser competition. Yeah. And Tennessee hasn't shown much of anything the last few games. So that's really I'm picking on them and seeing the 61.5 and what I've seen out of Florida the last couple of weeks. So I'll definitely be interested in the team total under.
Let's move on to another Noli knows look. We go to the Big 12 for it. West Virginia 5-3, 4-3 in the Big 12. At Iowa State 7-2, 7-1 in the Big 12. Jack Trice Stadium, Ames, Iowa, 43 Fahrenheit, sunny, 11 miles per hour. Let's see what we are dealing with. Iowa State opening up as 7-point favorites. This total low at 48.5, 49, or 49.5. West Virginia had their game against Oklahoma postponed last week due to positive COVID cases in the Sooners program. West Virginia was last seen 2 weeks ago defeating TCU at home 24-6. Their defense continues to be strong, allowing just 17.8 points per game and 274 yards per game. Iowa State coming up their fourth straight win, 23-20 at Texas. They're outscoring opponents by an average of 10.1 points per game. And you guys were all on Iowa State last week, a game that I shied away from. And it was a close battle, but you guys all cashed the Iowa State money line, and that moved. The market moved in your direction all week. So great stuff from you guys. All right, here we go. West Virginia, Iowa State. Noli knows. Take it away.
Yeah, this is an exciting matchup for me. I think two really good teams, and the big thing that I like to see is guys that can take care of the defensive side, especially in the trenches. And that's what we see here out of Iowa State and West Virginia. West Virginia only giving up 112 yards rushing per game, only 3.3 yards per rush, and that's a big focal point for Iowa State. You know, we talked about Iowa State and Texas last week, and one thing that we forgot to mention, we're talking about Buffalo running backs and whatnot, but we left out Breece Hall. You know what I mean? Second in the nation in rushing, just became second. But this is a guy who's got one of two players over 1,000 yards rushing, 1,260 yards. He's been the focal point for this Iowa State team, and that's the way that they're going to look to control the game and control the pace. They've been running 36 times. He's been running 22 rush attempts per game. He's been looking really good, and Iowa State's defense has looked really good. They were able to shut down Texas. Ellinger looked awful last week, looking real good, and they've been playing real well together. Coach was real emotional after the game, the way everybody's been playing. And here, being the last game of the season, I think Iowa State comes and plays hard, but I don't think they're going to run all over West Virginia. West Virginia also looks to run the ball, play good defense. And to me, I look at the under. When you look at the matchup here, 6 of the last 8 have gone under the total. 3 of the last 4 here at Iowa State have stayed under the total. To me, that's where I'm at. Give me the under here.
the under for Noli Knows in West Virginia, Iowa State. Let's move up to John Ryan. What do you think of Noli on this under?
I like the under. I like Iowa State better. I'm going to ride that horse yet again into this week against West Virginia. Every game now for Iowa State is critical if they want to have a chance at the tiebreaker and have a chance to slide into that Big 12 championship game, which would be really, really good for their program. What was I going to mention here? With the West Virginia team, I think they're a passing team that's flying under the radar. You really don't talk about them too much. And Iowa State does very, very well under Coach Campbell against teams that are averaging 275 or more passing yards per game. In fact, they're 17-4 with one push facing elite passing teams of that caliber, which I believe West Virginia is. So the other thing is that West Virginia has won 3 of the last 4 games, 3 of the last 4 against the spread. In past history, when they've done that, they've gone 4-13 in the next game against the number. So I think this is a game where Iowa State, again, I'll go out on a limb, but I think they cover by 10. I don't even think it's going to be a game.
Wow. And does that lead you to moving towards the West Virginia team total under?
Only no, because the side is where if I'm going to lose money, I'm going to lose it on Iowa State. With that passing offense, who knows? They could easily eclipse that team total. Too hard for me to determine whether this is going to be a Big 12 shootout or whether this is going to be a battle in the trenches with smash mouth football. So I would rather as I like to think, if I'm going to lose money, I'm going to put it on the better team, and that's Iowa State.
John Ryan backing Iowa State. Noli Knows on the under. CMAC, we're in Obi-Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. You have a move here, West Virginia, Iowa State.
I don't, but I'd lean Iowa State here. Definitely, if it goes under a touchdown, I'd look at it a little bit more. Like John alluded to, just right now, nothing against West Virginia, and I'd lean with Noli's under. I think this is a good football game. I don't know if I'm going to bet on either here, but Iowa State's the better team. I think at home and should win. I think it's close, so I'm staying off. But I think Iowa's the team here. So that's all I have on this one.
And Iowa is sitting as. Excuse me. Let me move this over here. Iowa State. Iowa there. Iowa State is sitting as 7-point favorites right now as we speak.
Yeah.
7-point favorites right now as we speak. Okay, let's move on to a Connor Mack spot. Just a few games left on our card. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on odds.com. We're going to break down every game, break down individually on YouTube. Cut it down individually. But if you want to watch the entire show, it will be available exclusively on odds.com. Number 25th ranked Tulsa, 5-1, 5-0 in the American at Navy, 3-5, 3-3 in the American. Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, Annapolis, Maryland, 49 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Tulsa, I said number 25 ranked. They're now number 22 ranked, as this is a Monday show. I think the numbers change here. And Tulsa opening up as 10-point favorites. That moved to 11.5. That's also moved to 12 at some books. This total sitting at 50 or 49. Tulsa's game last week versus Houston was canceled due to positive cases in the Cougars program. Tulsa on a 5-game winning streak, most recently defeating Tulane 30-24 in double overtime. Navy's lost 3 straight. They lost 10-7 at home to Memphis last week, and we thought that was going to be a high-scoring game, and we were way off there. I was on the over in that spot. We also had that Duke Georgia Tech over. That was flying over, while this one just didn't seem to get off the ground. Connor Mack, Tulsa, Navy, take it away.
Yeah, this is just another one where I'm fading Tulsa a bit. Them, SMU, Memphis. I was on Navy last week. I'm going to go back with them here, which could be dangerous. But all 3 of those teams, they have a tough time going on the road and covering as double-digit favorites. But I'm going to wait for this line to go up. I think it goes up even more. I think it goes up to 13.5. I think Navy's playing better football. I think they keep this one close, so I want the home dog here in Navy.
So we have CMAC on Navy, but he is waiting to see what kind of number he will get. Noli knows. Tulsa, Navy. Is there a move for you?
Honestly, when I initially looked at this game, my first initial thought was try to look at the under, but when they gave me a 50, I thought it was a little bit short here. A Navy team that all of a sudden they woke up and played some defense. So I'm not necessarily too sold on that defense front so far. I'd have to see it more, but Tulsa does look to grind it out. I think Tulsa is a very sound football team. I like what I see out of Tulsa. I think they're significantly better. Well, I don't know if they're 11 points better, but I mean, not really a game I just want to get involved with. I was hoping I can get a couple more points on the total.
All right, let's go up to John Ryan. Anything for you here in the American?
Well, like in baseball, the umpires say I call it as I see him. If I don't see him, I make it up. But this one I can't make up because I'm going to have to go against Connor here a little bit. This is just a lean, but I think Tulsa is the better team. Tulsa is scoring 29 points a game, ranking 59th in the nation. Navy 20 ranks 100th, actually 109th. Tulsa's defense is the key. 22.2 points allowed, ranking 25th in the country, and a struggling Navy defense that's played a weaker schedule, allowing 34 points per game, and that ranks 95th. So I respectfully will double up on my double IPAs with Connor, and I'll be on Tulsa.
So this would be a spot you would have to act right away, which is something you've not been want to do in this COVID era. I agree with CMAC that this line's going to keep going up. Do you?
I actually don't. I'll be honest. I don't have a feel for it, which way the line's going to go. We're coming up on. What did you say you saw it now?
The 12s are on the board now. It's 11.
Yeah, so we're. 13 is a critical number with books, as we all know, and obviously 13 and a half. So we're coming up near that. I'd be surprised if it got higher than 12 and a half. And like I said, for now it's a lean. On Saturday, we'll decide it at that point. But usually when I look at lines, and I know this may sound a little bit crazy, but maybe this is just old age and a lot of experiences. If I like Tulsa, for example, come Saturday, it's not going to matter whether it's 12, 13, or 14 points. I'm always taking a team that I think is going to cover by at least 7. So a minor twist, in the last couple of hours before the game has no bearing on my decision to bet a team or not.
All right.
Hopefully that made sense.
No, it did make sense. Let's move on to the last spot before a 7 and 8 p.m. game, and then we put a bow on this show. It's the MAC, Buffalo at Ohio. John Ryan has been riding Buffalo to glory. We're in Athens, Ohio, 40 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Buffalo 4-0 in the MAC, and coming off an exquisite performance in a 70-41 beatdown of Kent State. 400-plus yards for their star running back. 40 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Ohio coming off a 52-10 beatdown of Bowling Green. I was curious to see if Ohio could win by margin, and they put that to rest here. Let's see what we're dealing with. Buffalo opening up as 11-point favorites. That's quickly gone to 11.5, and this total is sitting at 59. John Ryan, are you going back to the well with Buffalo on the road here?
I'm going to go one more time because of the momentum that they have. I want to also admit that we on Saturday, at least I said, the parlay was Buffalo and under.
Mm-hmm.
And amazingly, Buffalo scored 70 on their own, which I believe eclipsed the total by themselves. And Patterson set a NCAA tying touchdown record with 8. So when you really look at that box score, they were already averaging over 600 yards in offense a game. And they weren't playing a doormat. They were playing Kent State, which in the conference was one of the teams that we all had discussed in previous weeks, might be the one that could take Buffalo down. But this is, they're at the end. They can see the finish line, and I think they just roll again. I'm very shocked that this line is 11.
Interesting. C-Mac, little action here. Are you shocked that the line's 11 for Buffalo on the road here?
Yeah, a little bit. I think they take care of business again. I'm a Buffalo believer. Jared Patterson, he just runs on everybody. So I like Buffalo here.
C-Mac on Buffalo. Move over to Noli Knows. Anything for you here, Buffalo, Ohio?
Not necessarily a move for me, but I think when you look at the line, I think they're looking at the past. They're looking a little bit at the past matchups, maybe a little bit too hard. This year, I think just that offensive line is something else. And you talk about Patterson doing his thing. Ohio really hasn't faced too much talent. Akron and Bowling Green the last 2 times out. I wouldn't expect a complete blowout, but like you've seen in some of these other games, But yeah, Buffalo's rolling. So, I mean, I can't go against that train. Definitely not. But Ohio's not that bad. But I don't know. I think just Buffalo may be on a different level. But yeah, I'm off. I'll let John Ryan keep cashing.
One other thing I'll mention is yards per point, is one of my favorite metrics. And Buffalo is registering at 10.1 yards per point. The lower the number, the more efficient the offense is. It's very rare at this time of the season with this many games that they have played where you will find an offense that has a number close to 10. 11 is the elite teams, Alabama, Clemson. But for Buffalo, and I'm not comparing strength of schedule, I'm just comparing them against their opponents. You consistently do that and average 8 or more yards per pass for the season, and that's monumentally impressive. And they've done similar things on the road, 9.1 yards per point, which is even better than their home games, and a little bit weaker at 7.5. But we're talking about elite numbers. 9.1 is just insane.
Interesting. Do you think that there's a possibility of Buffalo having kind of performance like they had against Bowling Green? When they come in on the road, they just feel great about themselves. They just won by 29 points, and they don't win by margin.
I don't think so. I think they had that hiccup at Bowling Green, and they were actually, I think, behind in that game. And once that happens to a team that's as good as Buffalo is, they know what they have to do to be focused against a weaker opponent. And like I said, they can see the finish line now. They have Ohio U, and then they play Akron. So, I mean, I think they win against Akron. and then it's, the season is done, and we have to wait to see how it all falls out. But yeah, I think if more than anything with Akron on deck, they're going to let it even fly even better and harder than they did last week. That would be the emotional tendency of this game.
Yes, man.
I think it could be a letdown, but I think 11's just too cheap. Like, I mean, even if they give it, I think they could win by 17 or 14 at the least, even if it's kind of a letdown spot. I think they're that much better.
49, 42, 42, and then 70. 70 on Kent State. I mean, it's not 70 on Akron, it's Kent State.
Yeah, no, I absolutely hear what you guys are saying. All right, we have 2 games left on the card, one for John and one for Connor. We're at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we head over to the Pac-12. Colorado 3-0, 2-0 in the Pac-12, and Arizona 0-3, 0-3 in the Pac-12. Arizona Stadium, Tucson, Arizona, 55 Fahrenheit, clear 7 miles per hour. Colorado coming off their 3rd straight win to start the season, 2010 at home over San Diego State. Arizona coming off their 3rd straight loss to open the season, 27-10 at UCLA. These are 2 teams moving in different directions. From the odds, we have Colorado at -7. There is a 6.5 on the board, and this total sitting at 58, although there are 57.5s and 56.5s. So that is where the line is moving. John, you picked this game out, Pac-12, Colorado, Arizona. Take it away.
Well, I think that the line is going up here in favor of Colorado becoming a greater favorite because there's question marks regarding Grant Gunnell, the quarterback for Arizona. I'm not sure. My understanding was that he was not going to play because the shoulder injury was pretty severe, but now it's quite possibly he's listed as questionable, so I guess he possibly could play, but I don't think he will. But it's a possibility that's why the line's going up. But here again, the price is reflecting everything in the marketplace that we know, injuries, COVID, whatever. And I think it's just way too low. Colorado is a team that, is the team that I think could knock off USC. And probably wouldn't, but they have a team that could do it. So Colorado is facing Arizona, who's actually 3-13 against the number in a home game, facing a team that has time of possession of 32 minutes or more on average. That certainly works in the case of Colorado, who can definitely control the line of scrimmage and control the clock. A little variation of that is taking 32 or more minutes and time of possession, and teams that average 21 or more first downs. That obviously is moving the chains and keeps the clock rolling. Arizona's 8-23 against teams like that. So I could go on here with several dozen more trends, but I think Colorado rolls in this game.
Colorado continuing to roll is John Ryan's look here. Let's move down from John to our Noli knows Pac-12 action here, Colorado, Arizona.
I think John Ryan nailed it on the head when you talk about the battle in the trenches here. I think there's a big mismatch when you talk about Colorado. They're going to be able to run all over Arizona, giving up 230 yards rushing per game. And on the flip side, Colorado only giving up 108 yards. They look to dominate the line of scrimmage, running 52 times a game. And you would think they would be a little bit more towards the under, but their totals have been going up. They've been scoring quite a bit of points. So that's one thing. When I hear a lot of those stuff, when they're continuing their drives and they're running the clock, you would think under. But the inability of Arizona to really stop anybody, giving up 460 yards a game, is really keeps me off of this game. But I will agree with Colorado. I think this number does seem a little bit short. Not a move for me particularly, but I would agree. Colorado is a much better team.
C-Mac, anything for you here in the Pac-12?
I agree, but obviously it's working its way up, and I think it plateaus at 7. Maybe it goes over. It's already gone up to 6.5, and I think everyone jumped on the right way here. I go with Colorado. Arizona's just a strange team. Remember, up and down, and COVID or not, they're a weird team that will play a rare great home game twice a year and cover a game. I don't think this is it, but I'm not going to bet this game. But Colorado would be my lean under the touchdown. They're the better football team.
Colorado would be the lean. John Ryan moving on Colorado. Let's move on to our last spot on the card. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on odds.com. We have an 8 p.m. spot here that Connor Mack is looking at. Miami, Duke. Miami 7-1, 6-1 in the ACC at Duke, 2-7, 1-7 in the ACC. Wallace Wade Stadium, Durham, North Carolina, 40 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 4 miles per hour. Again, great weather right across North America this Saturday. And we are dealing with Miami, now ranked 9th in the country, as 15-point favorites. That's moved to 15.5 in a few books, and a total at 61. Miami had its game last week with Georgia Tech postponed due to positive COVID cases in the Hurricane program. So very important to try to find out who's got it, who is good to go. They were last seen in a 25-24 win at Virginia Tech 2 weeks ago. Duke has lost 2 straight. They've allowed 50-plus points in both. They're coming off a 56-33 loss to Georgia Tech. We were on the over in that game. And Connor Mack, you got your eyes on this spot in the ACC. Take it away, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the number's too low at 62.5. You give it up 56-56, so 56-24 and 56-33. It's not in the 70s at 62.5 right now. I look towards the over in this game. Duke just can't stop anybody. I know they stop any here, and I think they get around at least 20 like they have been doing. I got to go with the over here. The side, I'd go with Miami with a 15.5. I don't love it going on the road, but I like this over here at 62.5.
Miami was helping us towards overs before they got hit with COVID. They were actually
yeah, they did, yeah. Uh-huh.
In that Virginia Tech game, right? They had 8 guys or so out of COVID in that spot. So the question is, do you feel like we need to study it?
Yeah,
who's in a little more, or take advantage of the line now because it'll just go up?
That's my predicament. That's why I wrote you earlier. It was just a lean. I'm going to dig into it more with COVID. I think it goes up, but I don't know. I'm going to wait a day or two because the COVID, you got to wait, but I think it goes up. The public's only going to bet this up. I think, it goes up to 66, I think. I don't know. I think it's just value here, right here at this number. And like I said, I'm going to look at it way more. All the COVID, I got a bunch of studying to do. It was just one that kind of jumped off. Like a few, I look at usually like 2 or 3 overs that I think, and 2 or 3 unders that we were talking about earlier. And this one kind of was like, whoa, this team's giving up 56 the last 2 games. So I got to lean over.
This Duke team must make Noli sick to his stomach. I'm sorry we have to ask you about this spot, Noli. Take it away, Miami Duke.
I mean, you said it, Jim. Typically, Duke has shown in the years past that they'll pick spots where they can play some defense and give me a couple unders, but not this year. It's been completely different. Connor alluded to it, giving up 56 points back to back. To North Carolina, it's a little bit more understandable. Georgia Tech, not so much. Giving up 24 to even Syracuse. I mean, they're making everybody look good on that side. On the other side, I think Miami will do whatever they want pretty much. And to me, that's just, I don't like that. And then their defense still really hasn't looked that great all season long. I won't look to be getting involved at all. Much better games out there for me.
John Ryan, anything for you here? ACC, Miami Duke.
Well, you got 2 teams heading in opposite directions. Obviously, Miami's 33rd in the nation, scoring 32 a game. Duke is allowing more than that at 35 a game on defense, ranking 99th. Points per play, Duke is 94th on offense. Miami 50th, not the best in the world, but far better than 94th. And then Miami's defense yards per point, reflects that they've come up in critical times and made plays. They rank 28th in the nation with a ratio of 0.328. And here Duke is, again, 96th at 0.467. So monumentally different. Playing against underdogs of 10.5 to 21.5 points with a poor first half defense, allowing 16 or more points per game after 2 straight games where 70 total points were scored. That system has gone 85 and 38 with 2 pushes for 69%. So I think if you're going to play this game, it's Miami. Like Connor said, I think I need more time just to examine every, nut and bolt in the whole matchup and make sure that is the right side.
Yeah, we need to get a little more information on Miami's COVID issues, because a lot of the teams that I've spoken about it, a lot of the teams we have that missed last week that we have in action this week weren't the teams afflicted with COVID. It was their opposition that did. This is the first time we have this team. Miami is the reason why the Georgia Tech game was postponed. Ragu says we crushed the Duke Wake over easily. We sure did. And the Duke Georgia Tech over is what we destroyed. All right, there we go. Great work from our panel of experts. We get to Saturday best bet time. Saturday best bet time. And Ragu saying that was his best bet for Saturday. Yeah, it was an easy catcher, Ragu, and thank you for it. It helped very, very much. John Ryan, best bet, Saturday action. Take it away.
Wow. I usually don't take this long. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, right? I'm going with Colorado.
Ooh, road favorite at -7. Wow.
Yeah, it's
wow, very, very interesting. Colorado best bet at this point, and that could change. You'll see John Ryan on Saturday. Colorado -7 or 6.5. It's still some books. Very, very, very interesting, John. Let's move to Noli Knows. He's on the Air Force, Utah State under for best bets Thursday, Friday. What's your Saturday best bet?
Saturday will be the Troy, South Alabama, the under 53.5.
Troy, South Alabama under. And CMAC, I know it's painstaking. I know you don't
No,
like
it's not.
these best bets, and I love it. It's just because you care so much. So I get it. Can you pull the trigger on the best bet Saturday?
I'm taking Liberty, and I think it goes a little higher, but for sure at 7. And I love it if it goes higher. I'm going to wait, but that's it.
Liberty. That's awesome.
Liberty.
Catching all year on Coastal Carolina and your best bet against them to close out the season is awesome. Well, not Coastal Carolina season and Liberty, they'll keep going. So it's not quite the end of the season. Great stuff from our experts. Big thank you, C-Mac, Noli Knows, and John Ryan. It's a pleasure working with you guys here every Monday, breaking down all these games. Again, you can catch us Saturday morning at 10 a.m. when we are joined by Big Ragu and DJ Big Boss. We have nothing without these great cappers in the chat. Thank you so much for sharing the insights and most recent information and also your humor. Fat Fap Win. Lanil Land, The Real Jolly Roger, Ramon Scott, Big Ragu, TJ Parks. Love it. Thank you guys so much. The Czar, Austin Gunning, Nuke Worker, Stephen Hennel. Thank you guys. Dennis Garcia. Beautiful. King Zeke. We also had Indian Cowboy joining us, Maxwell Smart joining us. There's Michael Irvalina right there. Thank you guys so much. We have no show without you. Let's have a big Saturday, and let's get ahead of these markets. D Block, LBC, thank you for joining us. You did cash that under on whether Noli would take any overs. So nice work there. They're few and far in between. Thank you, C-Mac, Noli, John Ryan. And we are out. Again, if you want to watch this whole show, exclusive only on odds.com. Other than that, we will see you very, very soon. On behalf of all of us here at odds.com, thank you guys so much for watching and get paid in full. Get that cash.